That's really cool. That's very, very cool. Let me ask you another question. What do you see as the hurdles towards metaverse adoption, and specifically from a technology perspective? I mean, if you look over the waves of technology that we've experienced over the last several decades, sometimes it just takes that iPhone moment. I'm really interested in your thoughts about this from a general perspective, and then specifically for the Sandbox. Yeah, just would really like to hear what you think.
So there's a few things to consider. First of all, I think it's a space that you only start to understand this Web3 culture and what it means like to own an NFT and to use it by interacting into it. So you need to be present to be not only legitimate in the space, but start defining that, like, and experimenting. So there's a lot of experimentation ongoing, and we don't know yet which will be like the final model of the iteration. But I know it's important to test things out to see how it's going to evolve. You're referring to that iPhone moment, but I've been for more than 12 years in the mobile industry. And it's not just the launch of the iPhone, it's the successive iteration of iPhone. First version of iPhone didn't have an operating system where you could build your app. Second version came in, and then came like better graphic, and then came Touch ID, and then came Face ID. And so from there, like, payments become much simpler than like having a tiny screen and you try to put your credit card number every time. Like, you were on the street and trying to fit your number. That was painful. Like, all those little iteration over time are building a better user experience. And the same way, like free to play, which is a leading business model on mobile, it didn't come because all of a sudden it came because thousands of developers iterated, copied each other, improved, succeeded and failed, and so on. So we feel like content creator in the metaverse needs to, but the first step is to create your avatar for free, to explore what it is right now, what's the potential, to be inspired, to participate into those activation and moments with people, and then be inspired and hopefully create something that had a little variation, and also use this, the social layers that the neighborhood of the map is, to build something together that expand beyond your just your own land, like really scattered all around that map, by having NFT of present, by using your identities that promote your own land and so on. And brands have been understanding that, like the first brand that step into Web3 and who are like serious about Metaverse, they acquired a land in Sandbox, they launched their first experience, they've seen that they can engage audiences for like 60 minutes to 1 hour on average, which is way above any metric you would find over social media or gaming. And that gives them a lot of time and user attention to have a different level of relationship and value exchange with the community. That NFT is a gateway to create multiple activation, both physical and virtual. So we talk now about ownership relation management, not just CRM, and that the money they don't spend on those web media platform, which took away their audience and the way to reach them out, the more they invest in Web3, the better they build for the future and that relation to their audience. And it's interesting to see that shift and how Sandbox as a platform adds value to them.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I mean, I've been delved into this for quite a while and talking to brands, and what I see is brands kind of, their minds blown by the type of engagement they can get from end users in the metaverse. Be it a concert, an event, or whatever it is, they're used to generic advertising on a billboard, a video, or whatever. Incredibly hard to, gauge how much real engagement you're getting. But when you're in the metaverse and you've got a brand who's fully developed into this event or activation or game or whatever it is, and you have the users running around, collecting stars, whatever it is, to try and get this coveted prize from, be it Nike or Coca-Cola or whoever it is. It is really elevating their thoughts about, right, how can we really take advantage of this? How can we just re-engage the customer with a deeper level into what we're trying to do and our brand, and also the type of outcome that they're looking for. Just this morning, I had on a friend of mine, Khalil, who's head of digital for Coca-Cola, talking about some of the things that they do. They just want to be present where anyone is happy and enjoying themselves. And they have so much latitude for what they can actually do and achieve. And they're doing some amazing stuff. And so are their competitors. What he was actually talking about, which was very, very exciting, was you have some of these really, really old school legacy brands who are completely reinvigorating themselves in this new world of Web3. And it's very, very exciting for them, where some of the other ones who are just, letting this pass by, they're really letting up and they're missing out on a massive opportunity. And that's what we're able to provide. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with the brands and the sort of value that they're seeing out of utilizing the Sandbox?
So what's exciting is we're no longer just in the phase where brands are excited about the potential, they acquire land, but they haven't done something concrete. The first wave of brands that enter Sandbox today, they already launched experience during Alpha Season 3 or during their own event. Some of them have launched their avatar collection as well toward their community. So they are progressively going through that funnel of engagement toward their community. And they are excited, really, sharing about if they wanted to create this level of engagement, like I was mentioning, 30 minutes to 1 hour on average to other users. Have so much quests that been completed by users within the world and so on. They would need to spend millions of dollars in traditional media. But what's important is Sandbox allow the CMOs of those brands to also show how they've been engaging more, how they've been reinforcing and rejuvenating the brands itself. Let me give you an example. When a brand actually it's a bank like HSBC acquired a land for the first time in Sandbox, it already launched 2 experiences. Not only was wow for the rest of the world, because why a bank would buy land and build in Metaverse, but it not only had a positive impact on them across the whole Hong Kong ecosystem where Hong Kong is mother base for HSBC, but also for their 20,000 employees around the world. Suddenly they became a cool brand that's connected with the audience, that understands this, and the employees itself, they wanted to contribute, to build on it, to be present in it, and so on. So that double positive effect. Because most of the time Web3 is carried not just by the top level management, but also by the member of the company, the employees themselves, who want to push up those initiatives. And it's great when the two are aligned on how it can be used, and they give a lot of freedom to experimenting. And we see that with Web3 native brand like Ledger, for example, but also brands like Gucci, more traditional fashion luxury. Sure. In the history of Gucci is all about experimentation. So it was so logical they are the first in the space, but we still see brands like Care Bears of Ubisoft and Reddit, South China Morning Post, K-pop stars and K-pop labels, for example. So it's very cultural. And in a way, for me, it's an essential element that we will see in the Metaverse. User-generated content meeting the culture of those brands in the physical world that open themselves to co-creation, open themselves to let their community define with them what they could become, and not try to just copy what they already are in the physical world. That's part of the exciting things. Some of the brands have been selling more virtual wearables, like Tommy Hilfiger, as they launched to Metaverse, sold more virtual clothes collection than the physical one. So it's also starting to become a promising avenue for revenue generation. And that's why those JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley reports also think within 10 years, it will be a $30 trillion industry that will really affect how we shop, etc. And that's how, back to your first question, where we see Sandbox going over the next 10 years, I feel it's going to be an acceleration from this is just for now still a platform that only counts 4.5 million users to this is something much more developed, where I can work, I can learn, I can socialize, I can play and engage into all those different activities, express myself as an avatar that's more realistic, all my content, and develop my whole digital reputation and digital life online. alongside like what I'm doing in the physical world.
Absolutely. What you said there was really interesting about these brands making significant revenue lines out of essentially their new digital business.